We've now been joined by Chase Briscoe. Chase, thanks for joining us. A little bit of a welcome home for you here in the state of Indiana, but I know you've been here most of the week. I think you might have come here straight from Michigan, but you were at Colts camp, training camp earlier, and then I think you also raced SRX maybe on Thursday night. But just tell us a little bit about your week, kind of what it's been like to be back at home, and really, truly what this place means to you personally.
Yeah, it's been super nice just to be home. I feel like this is always my favorite week of the year, just knowing that I get to come home, see my family. So, yeah, kind of switched it up on me. Normally it's Indy then Michigan. This year was Michigan then Indy. So came down, did Colts camp, which is super cool. I've always been a big Colts fan just growing up here in the state of Indiana. And then drove down to Mitchell, hung out with my grandparents and my parents for 2 days. Then ran SRX Thursday night, then went to the Children's Museum yesterday, and just hung out with family and friends. Went to Eric Church last night with some buddies that I went to high school with. So it's been honestly nice just to kind of regroup. This season's definitely been a grind, and just kind of I feel fresh again a little bit in a sense. So looking forward to this weekend. This weekend is super significant to me. I feel like any race car driver in the field dreams of getting to race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But when you grow up literally just 60 miles down the road, it holds even more significance. So just super excited for this weekend. What this weekend always brings. The amount of fans that come out for this race and come and support me, and friends and family is always just so humbling. So I always try to put on a show for them and feel like I can always find that extra 5 or 10% every time we come here. So hopefully can finally put one together. Been close, just haven't been able to seal the deal.
All right, we'll now go to questions to the media. For Chase, if you have one, raise your hand. We'll work to get a mic to you, and we'll start with Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. As someone who grew up in Indiana, when you see IndyCar and NASCAR come together here, what is that like for you? And then, conversely, this weekend is probably going away for all intents and purposes. Are you happy with that, or does it make you sad, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think this weekend and just the crossover is super cool. I mean, for me at least, growing up in Indiana, I was an IndyCar fan. You just kind of naturally are, I feel like, if you grew up here. So for me, this weekend was always cool just seeing the crossover. I feel like especially prior really to this weekend, when we started doing it 2 or 3 years ago, there was almost like you were either an IndyCar fan or you're a NASCAR fan. There wasn't a ton of just crossover, where now you see drivers from both disciplines coming in racing. I feel like the fan bases really kind of embraced each other. And it's just a great opportunity. And honestly, this Saturday ticket is I feel like one of the best in motorsports. You can come and watch an IndyCar race. You can watch an Xfinity race. You can watch the Cup cars practice and qualify. It's just, as a race fan, it's a great opportunity and a great ticket to have. So I don't know if it's going to go away. If it does, it's obviously that's going to be a great ticket that will go away. I doubt they would run, obviously, the oval for IndyCar, but maybe they could still run. If we do go back to the oval, the Indy cars could run on the road course and we could still run the oval. I don't know how that would work, but I think today is always cool from a race fan side of things. Just getting to see 3 different disciplines and 3 of the highest disciplines in North American motorsports all compete on the same racetrack. Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Chase, you haven't had the opportunity to drive on the oval in the Cup Series. How surreal will that be if we go back to it next year for you, being from Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell everybody that, for me, if you're racing on the oval, the road course, the dirt track over there, or even in the parking lot in the quarter midget, it's special to get a race here. But I think it's no secret that the prestige and the history that the oval holds is definitely above the other disciplines that you could race here. So for me, I've been able to run 2 oval races in the Xfinity Series, and it was just the wildest feeling, truthfully, coming off at turn 4 every lap and seeing that front straightaway. So I'm doing the Cup test here Monday, Tuesday, and it's crazy to think that I'll be, one of 3 guys to drive this next-gen car on the oval. So if we get a race on it, the significance of what the Brickyard 400 is, it's a crown jewel. There's no other way to say it. I mean, I think it's the Daytona 500, and then the Brickyard 400 is the second race that, from a driver standpoint, everybody wants to win. So I grew up coming to a lot of Brickyard 400s. If we do come back, it would be super special. And, just excited to see what this test holds Monday, Tuesday, and, what it could mean for the future.
Well, you mentioned your Xfinity runs here. You've had success on the road course in Xfinity here. You've showed speed at times on this track and Cup. Do you have mixed emotions knowing that this is a place that you can perform
Yeah, every time we talk about going to the Oval, I always tell people, like, from a history and significance standpoint, I want to go back, but I do feel like from a winning standpoint, I have a little bit better shot on the road course. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I still would much rather run the Oval if I was going to win one or the other for sure. For me in my career, I would love to be able to say I got to run a Brickyard 400. So the road course, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if we ran twice here, once on the Oval, once on the road course. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, it is a little bit of mixed feelings. But truthfully, I feel like if everything comes together, we can win on the Oval too. But I have had success here in the past, like you said, on the road course. So it is easy to, not easy, but you at least come here with confidence. Where on the Oval, I don't have a ton of laps compared to a lot of guys. So it is a little bit harder to be, I feel like it's confident coming into those.
All right, Kelly, up front here.
So along those same lines of you were just talking about oval or road course, Doug Bowles said on SiriusXM yesterday, maybe there's a conversation to be had about running them in alternating years, oval 1 year, road course the next year, back and forth. So is that something you want to jump on the train to help him have that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's no secret, right? Like the Oval, the Brickyard 400, it started out as packed, sold out practically, and towards the end, it wasn't really that. So I think we had to do something to switch it up as a sport to kind of get it back. Obviously we lost a crown jewel doing that, but I do think maybe that's a possibility. You run the road course every 2 or 3 years in a row, bring the Oval back the 4th year or something, because it definitely seemed like when we ran the Oval every year, it did lose a little bit. But truthfully, with this next gen car and how it's raced on the ovals, it might be this incredible race. So I don't know. I wouldn't be against running the Oval the next 3 or 4 years, but at the same time, I wouldn't be against switching back and forth. But I do think it's hard to have a crown jewel on the schedule, then take it away, bring it back, take it away. So I don't know. I think if we're going to do it, I would love to see it be a mainstay at least for a couple of years.
Are you doing the tire test?
Yeah.
So will that be the first, going back to what you were talking about earlier about running on the Oval here, will that be the first chance that you really have run on the Oval? And even though it's going to be empty, will that mean anything?
Well, I ran 2 Xfinity races, but I think both of them were actually on Monday. They were both rain, or the one was on Tuesday, so it was practically like a test day. There was nobody here.
All right, Lee.
Can you take us through your win here? Because it's not that you were an unknown before that, but after that, you were a winner at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And for a guy that grew up not far from here, I know it meant the world to you.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely meant the world. I mean, I was crying in the car after. I mean, it just meant a ton. And, that day, just in general, I felt like, like you said, I wasn't, not that I was unknown, but I don't think people even thought I could be in the Cup Series up to that point. And whenever I went and beat AJ kind of straight up, I felt like that really changed the conversation really quickly as far as what my next year was going to look like. Up until that point, nobody had even talked to me about Cup racing or anything. And after that win, it was all of a sudden the talk started to happen. So, that day was a super special day. I about threw the race away just being so nervous, knowing that I was leading with a couple to go. And, that day at the same time is such a bummer day for me, just knowing that there was absolutely nobody here. It burns me up to this day. So I think that's why I've put even more pressure on myself to be able to win here again, just because I want to experience that with the fans and with my family and my friends. I want to climb the fence and have people going crazy like Tony did, where when I did it, I just looked at the empty grandstands. So, winning here during COVID, winning here regardless was special, but, winning here in COVID did make it just a little bit of a bummer from a personal standpoint, just with how much it meant to me and everything else, and not being able to experience that with anybody else. Yep, thanks.
All right, any final questions for Chase? All right, we'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports, getting close to entering the final third of the season. These will be the final races for Kevin Harvick. I know you got many other things on your mind, but the idea that you're moving closer and closer to no longer having Kevin as a teammate, and you've talked about what he's meant to you. What is this time like for you?
I'm just trying to maximize it, truthfully. Seeing a guy that's done it at the level that he's done it and having him as a resource. I only have 13 more weeks to use him as a resource. So, these past 2-3 weeks, I've been going to the simulator 2 hours early and watching him, and then asking him questions at the end. Just trying to use as much as I can and milk it as much as I can for as long as I can. And truthfully, I haven't done a very good job. I feel like once I got to the Cup Series of using Kevin, in the Xfinity Series, I felt like I used him a lot. And then when I got to the Cup Series, I just didn't really use him anymore for whatever reason. And these last couple weeks, especially with how much I've been struggling here lately, I've been trying to get back to using him and just asking him more questions. And I wish I would have done it a lot more these past couple of years, just especially now as I've done it these past couple of weeks and just seeing how smart he is and just how he approaches the weekends. There's a reason he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And for me not to use him week in and week out like I have these last couple of weeks was kind of ignorant on my part, truthfully. So I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing that, but definitely going to try to use him these last 13 weeks to the best of my ability.
All right, I had one more. All right, in the back, go ahead.
Just to kind of to follow up on that being towards the end of the season, you have 3 weeks until the playoffs start. Daytona, Watkins Glen, Indianapolis. Daytona's more of a Hail Mary for a lot of the drivers that can't point their way in if they're trying to make the playoffs. For you, is the aggression level over these next three, are they any different in each one, or compared to maybe Daytona, or is it just the same amount of aggression trying to get a win at each track?
Truthfully, I feel like if I'm in position, I'm definitely going to be aggressive, just knowing, that's going to be probably our only opportunity, especially if it happens just once in these next 3 weeks. The odds of it happening again might not be there, so I'll be pretty aggressive. But truthfully, we just haven't had the speed in the cars lately to even be aggressive, whether it's on pit calls or on the racetrack or anything. So I do think that, this weekend's probably my best opportunity to be up in the mix. Daytona is kind of what it is, but, Watkins Glen, it's hard to say. I've not been great there unless it rains. So, hopefully if I'm up in the mix, I'll definitely be aggressive, just knowing. I feel like the aggressive level's been there all year. I just haven't really had the opportunity to show it. So hopefully this weekend I'll be able to show that. Yep, thanks.
All right, any final questions for Chase? All right, thank you for spending time
thank
with
you
us.
guys.
Best of luck
Appreciate
this
it.
weekend.